Welcome to Let's Play Gran Turismo 3 episode 80. And where officially we are now going to pick up where we left off by beginning part 2 of the Professional GT World Championship, since I know very well this championship overall will not take me quite as long as the previous two championships did. And so, let's now move over to the shitty oval, which is where race 6 is taking place. And as you would have suspected, I'm going to increase my speed just a wee bit more, and also going to go for minimum downforce as well, because that setup has been hugely helpful. And because I have a feeling I probably will be off the pace, I'm also going to put on the Stage 3 Turbo just in case. I don't predict I'll win this race, but if I do manage to win this race, it will probably surprise me. Anyways, let's get through this. Alright, let's do this. Race number 6 on the schedule, and already the GT40 has started falling back, as of which already I am now up into 3rd position, and the Mazda looks like he's already reached top speed up to this point, and it appears as though I am not far from reaching top speed either. Looks as though this could very well be a reality check over where exactly I should be. We both touched as we were high on the banks. These bankings, of course, are pretty steep, and I do want to quickly get this over with. As of which the Mazda has of course hit top speed, and it's pretty clear that this will only really be a two-way fight, considering I did figure I put on the minimum downforce setup, which has been hugely helpful for a circuit such as Test Course. It has helped me win these races, even though I've also had to increase the top speed on the car as well, just to solidify that I can win these races. So it's pretty much myself and the Mazda at the moment that are very much dominating this race at the present time. Even though the Mazda does have the stronger acceleration, I appear to have the stronger straight line speed. It would appear as though both of us are pretty much equally matched up to this point. And as for the rest of the field at the moment, they are pretty much just fighting amongst themselves. I already have a 16-point lead in the championship anyway, so even if I do finish second in this race, it will not affect my chances too much, because ultimately I had a 16-point lead going into this race. And I am pretty sure that I have no ambitions of losing. I could have switched over to the racing slick tyres if I wanted to, but I've decided not to, and oddly enough I am definitely starting to see the benefits of that. Even though tyre degradation is not as much of a problem here at Test Course as it is at other courses in this game, obviously I can definitely witness the difference between the two compounds. And the Mazda, once again trying to go for a manoeuvre on my right side, but obviously he does not have enough speed to keep up with me down the straights, because he does keep hitting the rev limiter. He may have led the first lap, and of course I led the second lap, so it's pretty clear to say this will easily be a two-way battle for the victory, and I'm pretty sure that my oil light will easily turn red by the time we're done with this race, because this is fucking test course. And if this course was here in real life, it would notably be a real engine killer, because that is exactly what this course is. It has a history of pushing these engines very hard indeed, and that is exactly what the case is proving to be after nearly 3 laps in this race. Meanwhile, the rest of the field is pretty much inseparable. And the Mazda is still very much within the draft. Both of us are pretty much equally matched up to this point. Meanwhile, both the Esperante and the GT40 are actually fighting amongst the bottom 4 up to this point. Meanwhile, I'm still fighting hard with the Mazda. It sounds like he is still hitting the rev limiter, so he's not able to do anything at the moment about the issue that is currently plaguing him, and whenever I see him in the draft, I know very well that he is able to get the acceleration off the corners, but again, I am easily able to fight back once I get myself in the draft. We're both pretty much fighting amongst ourselves at the moment. It's pretty much murder on the oval up to this point. We are both very much hitting our maximum speeds. It looks as though I might be able to win this race, dependent on what happens in the closing stages, as of which I did have to defend there from the Mazda. He was not going to make that manoeuvre unless I didn't shut the door. We both got a little bit loose there, and the Mazda is once again closing in down the straight. He gets past me very briefly, but he hits the rev limiter again, which is proving of course to be his weakness up to this point. And even though I am certain he will get past me before we reach turn 2, I am pretty sure that I will not be too flustered by this, because I can easily get back in the slipstream and just very much pull off the old switcheroo and then see if I can manage to hold my line. Which oddly enough is one thing I'll only really be able to do temporarily, because the Mazda is still quick. He must not be underestimated up to this point. And the benefits of straight line speed are playing, of course, into my hands. We are both literally in the red zone with our needles up to this point. Both of our race cars being equally matched up to this point, as we now conclude the money lap, and it looks as though I might be able to lead this if I can stay on the defense from the Mazda. He was trying to get the money, but I deny him that opportunity. I lead the halfway lap. This is very much a two-horse race from what I can make out. The straight lines, these two straight lines have proven to be my Achilles heel. Meanwhile, the Achilles heel for the Mazda has proven to be acceleration. So, straight line speed, of course, proving to be important, but acceleration through the corners is also proving to be just as important. Considering for once this will probably be the one race at test course where the race itself will not just be a snooze fest. Because I'm pretty much locked in combat at the moment, literally fighting tooth and nail for the race lead here at test course. At the moment. Considering this looks like it will probably be the only actual good race that occurs at test course. Because I've been fighting with the Mazda tooth and nail pretty much lap after lap, and for most of these laps I've managed to lead. Tries to dart down the inside, but he hits the rev limiter before he can do anything about it. He's still trying to see if he can side draft me, but unfortunately for him, it does not look like that's going to work out. It appears as though the straight line speed woes are starting to affect the Mazda, only mildly, but still affecting him in a way, as far as the eye can see. And in saying that, we are now 6 laps into this race, and the Mazda at the moment is only nudging me. So he has not made a bid for the lead at the moment. And once we have got this race over with, we can get back to real racing. And I nudged the wall. Having to stay defensive from the Mazda up to this point. This probably will be the only good race that we actually get at test course in this game, methinks, as the rest of the leaders are not, as of which the other prototypes up to this point are not having a very good time in this race. Compared to both myself and the Mazda, who are basically nearly an entire lap clear of the rest of the field. But again, because of how boring the track is, obviously that is the main reason why I am yawning. Mazda having the superior acceleration. And we just hit the rev limiter again, which does now allow me to retake the advantage. Although, obviously, as you would have suspected, I'm not letting him take the lead, because I still feel like I can fight for this position. It appears as though it could very well be a photo finish up to this point. I hit the wall, but the Mazda gives me a nudge. I think it's fair to say that the oil light will very much turn red before the end of this race, because again, it's test course, and from what I can make out, I am pretty sure this will definitely not be an easy win. But oddly enough, I really did not expect myself to be competing for the lead in this fucking race. But it's fine, because following this race, as my oil light does now turn red, but following this race we can get back to real racing. So we now have just one more lap to go. Unreliability of these engines in this game proving, of course, to very much be a jinx in the Professional League Championships. And the Mazda does now retake the advantage with his superior acceleration. But again, I retake the advantage with my superior speed. And it looks as though speed could very well win this race over acceleration, as we now start the final lap here at Test Course, and this I am suspecting will probably be one of very few races at Test Course which is not boring. Even though this track is still tiring me out, because, as I suspected, this track is really draining my sockets. So here we are now. We now have just 2 corners to go once we reach the end of the straight. The Toyota GT1 does now come into the pits, as I would have suspected, right before the final lap, I might add, so that's pretty much going to solidify his fourth position in the championship. I'm suspecting he will probably finish last unless everyone else in front of him pits. I am still fighting hard with the Mazda, as of which it could very well be a photo finish if he makes a manoeuvre, but I'm not going to allow that to happen. This could very well be a photo finish, and I just managed to fend him off for the race win. Really had to get aggressive there, but I just beat him to the line. Fucking hell. And there is still quite a struggle going on for 3rd position. And so, let's now wait for everyone else to get to the finish line, since everyone will officially finish on the lead lap. Alrighty, everyone has finished, and I ultimately did not think I was going to win that race. Even from the very start, I thought for sure if it was going to be a photo finish scenario, I thought for sure I would not win that race. But apparently as it might be, I did. Even though I did suffer from fatigue in the later stages because of how boring this fucking track really is. Anyways, I now have a 20-point lead over the Mazda. The R390 is still third over the Toyota GT1, and we now have a tie for fifth. So whoever gets the advantage for the remaining races will probably finish in, in the fifth position. And also, yes, I am going to save this replay because that was one Titanic scrap, and probably the only Titanic scrap you will see for the entirety of this championship, as of which I would suspect the rest of these races are probably going to be dominated by either me or the Mazda, but we'll just have to wait and see. As of which, one race is down and we still have 4 races left in this championship, and officially I'm now going to go back to my default strategy, even though just because I want to, I'll put on a little more downforce on the rear and a little less downforce on the front, and I would imagine for these next few races I will need the turbo one, so that's exactly what I'm going to leave on. So, race number 7 begins in this championship, where we are now back to real racing in this event. And already making some pretty hard contact there with the Mazda, as the Panos also tries to dive bomb me there, as does the GT40. Both the Toyota and the Nissan are now currently ahead of me, as of which that's more or less what I would come to expect from the likes of the early leaders, and the Panos Aspirante made some pretty hard contact there, so at the moment I'm caught up in the chaos of these AI. Even though I am still trying to see if I can hold on for a potential second position in this race, because I am certain the Toyota will hit, since he is on the grippier tyres to start off. He gets the early race advantage, obviously, but when it comes down to the long run, I would not think the Toyota is going to be quite as beneficial come the end of the race. But we will just have to wait and see, even though I'm pretty sure I will not be the leaders up to this point. And the Mazda at the moment is still caught up between the Aspirante and the GT40 at the moment, so there really is no battle going on at the moment for the lead at the moment, nor is there a battle going on for second. And I would imagine that if the Mazda keeps sliding just like it did there, I am pretty sure that I will have more than a comfortable enough lead to possibly clinch the championship 2 races before the end, as of which that is exactly what I have managed to do up to this point so far in the running. And after this race, of course, we are going to Tokyo, which pretty much means, of course, that by the time we have made it through Tokyo, I will probably dominate the final 2 races, because I already have a 20-point lead over the Mazda going into this race, and coincidentally, I would say I'm more than confident enough to say that all I really have to rely on now is consistency, and then that is exactly what will win me championships, like it has done pretty much so many times in the past. The space of just 2 laps, we have already driven for 4 minutes in this race at the completion of 2 laps, and ultimately I'm now pretty confident to say at the very least, in sympathising that I probably will more than likely take home the 2nd position by the time the Toyota pits, because I'm sure the Toyota before the end of this race will definitely pit, and obviously the Mazda at the moment is pretty much nowhere in comparison to the 2 leaders, as of which the Toyota continues to lead this race. The Nissan R390 is running 2nd, I'm currently 3rd up to this point in the championship, and I have no doubt in saying that even with the Turbo 1, I will definitely not win in Tokyo compared to these AI, or at least compared to the prototypes, because I am pretty sure that all I really need to do up to this point is play a conservative approach towards winning this championship, as of which I am virtually 2 races clear of the Mazda 787B as a result of me winning 5 out of the first 6 races. My consistency has been mostly impressive up to this point, and I'm pretty confident to say it at the very least in empathising that I probably will hopefully manage to finish this race in hopefully the 2nd position once the Toyota pits, because even though I am 13 seconds back of the Toyota, it does not bother me too much, because even if the Mazda does get past me before the end of this race, I am still pretty certain that if I manage to be consistent for the remaining parts of this championship, I will probably manage to win the championship overall, and I have no doubts in saying the Toyota will be coming into the pits once again very soon. Like he has been doing for pretty much every other race so far in this championship. I am doubtless to say at the very least that he will come into the pits before the end of this race, and at the moment, of course, I am managing to hold on to third position ahead of the Mazda, who is now starting to close in on me, but if he tends to have tyre troubles later on in the going, and I'm hopeful in saying that he will, then obviously that would be just the pincushion I need to help me further extend my lead. Because even though the Mazda is quicker than me down the straights, I'm still proving, of course, to be that much more consistent through the corners. Which realistically is the main reason why I'm playing this race conservatively up to this point. Just trying to do whatever I can to hold on to the race lead. We are now officially at the halfway point. The Mazda is trying his hardest to close in on me, but these corners are proving, of course, to be the Mazda's Achilles heel. At this moment in time, because it doesn't look as though the Mazda is consistent enough through the corners to officially pull off a passing manoeuvre. And even though he is starting to close in, cornering speeds are literally that much slower up to this point that I honestly would not think that he is officially going to be consistent enough to keep up with me through the corners. And if I am going to hold on to third position, which very much looks like the position I probably will hold on to up to this point, then I will need to get the hammer down, as of which the Mazda does attempt to go for a dive down the outside. He's literally attempting a dive bomb through that first corner, but fortunately I do manage to fend him off, and he even gives me a little bump there, but I still managed to hold on to third position regardless, because he was not quite able to thread the needle. Boy did he try to go for that second position. Even if he cheated, he still tried to go for that second position, but fortunately the turbo is managing to keep me ahead of the Mazda up to this point. And I'm hopeful in saying the Toyota does pit in this lap, so then once he does, I can officially manage to hopefully manage to compete for second place. And forgetting to use the brakes, but it doesn't matter because I still made the turn even though I did use the outside wall to do it. And I am still forgetting there is an invisible wall there. And the Toyota is now in the pits once again. And I'm suspecting this could very well be where I do manage to take the second position. And his pit stop is now complete, as of which I figured it would be a long stop by the size of, by the length of pit road. And officially, I think it's pretty clear to say what exactly the final order will be for this race. Considering I will unquestionably lose in Tokyo to the prototypes, because I think they will literally be that much more consistent than me. And starting to close in on the Nissan just a little bit, but I have no doubts in saying he will probably put my chances of catching up to him straight to bed. Even though he is starting to slow down just a wee bit, it looks like. But I don't know if he too is having tyre trouble, in which case if he is, then I would suspect this could very well be where the race is decided on tyres. Even though tyre wear is not proving to be as hard on this circuit in comparison to either Grand Valley or Apricot Hill, the truth is I still think I will be more than happy to settle for second position in this race, even though the interval is now closing, and I would suspect that is for the tyres, but it's just my prediction. I would still think I am not going to be quite close enough. I would still think I won't quite be close enough to officially close up on the leader. And it looks as though my chances of catching the Nissan are pretty much nil point up to this point. So, pretty much no chance of catching the Nissan up to this point, even if I do manage to rapidly close that gap. I don't think it is going to be enough for me to make any proper bids for the lead, as of which I can now say I am officially well clear of the Mazda up to this point in the race. And even though the gap is still continuing to shrink to the R390 as we head through the corners, these straightaways here are proving, of course, to be what exactly is keeping the Nissan ahead of my FTO. Also, this is now the final lap here at Route 11, as of which, following this we are going to Tokyo, and then for the final two races we're going to Monaco and then Grand Valley Reverse. As of which, I would imagine both of those races are probably going to end up being easy dubs, but we shall just have to wait and see. Everyone by now is on the final lap. Officially, we are done with race number 7 in this championship, and we're officially, I'm now more than 2 rounds clear of the Master. And gap in the end of that race pretty close overall, only 5.6 seconds. So the tyres on the Nissan must have really fallen off in those closing stages. And the main reason why I was closing in so quickly. But officially, we are now going to wait for the American boys to finish. Alright, they have now finished. And that is now the end of race 7, and officially I now have a 22 point advantage to the Mazda 787B with only 3 rounds remaining. So the R390 takes his first win of the season and now moves to within just 2 points of the 787B, and officially the Toyota looks like he's going to hold on to 4th position. Meanwhile, I have more than a 20 point lead over the rest of the competition. So another 10 grand to me for 2nd place, and officially let's now move onwards to Tokyo, where I have no doubts in saying that this is a race I will unquestionably lose. But yeah, let's get through it. Race 8, we're going to Tokyo. As I suspected, the leaders have outnumbered me, as I suspected they would. Because I knew very well that I was not going to have any realistic chances of going for the lead, unfortunately. So the leaders, as I anticipated, have already just pretty much shot themselves away from me. Gap is already 6.25 seconds to the Toyota, so I've it's pretty much solidified why exactly I ultimately have no chance of winning. Why exactly I have virtually no chance of winning. I can safely say that I'm definitely going to hold on to 4th position in this race because I'm pretty much clear of both the Aspirante and the GT40 up to this point. In the championship, I'm currently running in 4th, but again, does not affect me too much because I already have well over enough of an interval to prove that I will hold on to the 4th position. While it looks as though to everyone else they will pretty much just stay way the fuck out in front of me. So, I don't think I need to push too hard on this car at the present time. I pretty much have more than enough of an interval to prove that I can ultimately win the championship, because I don't think my points lead would be affected by too much if the Mazda beats me, because it will only be 7 points. I will still have a 15-point advantage going into the penultimate round in Monaco, so I'm pretty sure that I will still manage to clinch the championship before the final round, because we are going to Monaco, and Monaco I can probably guarantee will be an easy win. Regardless of what happens, because of how largely inconsistent is AIR around Monaco. So Monaco, I can pretty much guarantee will be an easy win. But dependent on knowing if I will win the other both Monaco and Gran Valley Reverse in the grand scheme of things will remain to be seen. Looks as though for the big 3 we are going to be set up for quite a battle for these remaining races, as of which I'm pretty sure even if the Toyota does pit up to this point, he probably will have enough of an advantage over me, because he already has a 21-second interval to me anyway, whilst both the Mazda and the Nissan at the moment are holding on to both 2nd and 3rd places respectively. just checking to see if my mic is still on. I also missed the breaking point as a result of that. Don't really think I cheated there because I didn't use the wall tirelessly. I was just distracted by looking to see if my microphone was still switched on. Unfortunately, at the moment it still is. And yep, 22.7 seconds, yeah. I think even if the Toyota does split up to this point, I just literally know for sure, as it does, like I anticipated he would, but even if he does pit, I'm still pretty certain that I will not take second position in this race because I literally think overall that is precisely how much more consistent the leaders have been in comparison to me. And as of which the Master has now pretty much broken himself away from the toe of the Nissan R390, so ultimately it looks as though first and second positions in this race are pretty much going to be decided, as I still remain in fourth position at the present time. No real competition at the moment, unfortunately. I am not even concentrating up to this point. So at the moment I am just really not concentrating on where the track goes because it appears as though I will not win my sixth race here in Tokyo, because it appears as though the AI are literally that much more consistent than I am. It's more or less what I expected was going to happen. It almost looks like they're building a stadium over there, is what one thinks. And it appears as though fourth position is probably going to be the best I can hope for, because the Master has pretty much got this race in the bag. The Nissan is still holding on to second position at the moment. Doesn't look like he's going to catch the Master in the end, unfortunately. But at the moment, I am more than happy to concede myself to the fourth position. It's still 3 points. I'll still have a 15-point lead going into Monaco, and then by the time we do get down to the final two races, where this AI have just literally fucking left me in the dust here in Tokyo, I am certain the final two races will definitely be 15 points heading into the penultimate round of the GT World Championship, where from there I can basically dominate the final two races, because I only need to finish in second place or better in Monaco, and mathematically the championship is mine, so no matter what the Mazda does, because no matter what the Mazda does up to this point in the championship, by the time I've won, by the time I have at least finished second in Monaco, I will definitely be confirmed as the champion no matter what happens. As we now have just 2 laps to go, and it looks as though the Mazda is officially going to overlap both it looks as though the Mazda is apparently going to overlap the Paynos Aspirante GTR1, who did recently come in for a pit stop, and the GT40 now comes into the pits, even though I wouldn't think the Aspirante will benefit by that much, because the undercut does not look like it's going to benefit him too much unless it becomes a long pit stop. But the GT40 is now coming out of the pits. It's probably going to be close between the two. I think the Aspirante might have him this time though. And yes, he does. Methinks. And officially, that is the R390 I can see down there. So the Mazda is now onto his final lap, as is, or as are, I should say, the Nissan and the Toyota. Meanwhile, I myself, with my Mitsubishi FTO, I am currently running in 4th position. Up to this point, as we now begin the final lap here in Tokyo. It's pretty much been a boring race for me overall, but still happy to hold on to 4th position. It's been more or less what I expected it to be. On the whole, I have no doubts to say for sure that this race will definitely decide the outcome of the championship, as which I am now 47 seconds behind the Mazda. But it's fine, because I will still have a 15-point lead going into the final 2 races, and then by the time I've done both of those, ultimately that will be this championship done. Doesn't look as though I'm gonna wait too long to see where everyone else will finish, because I think I was the last one to cross the line from what I can make out, even though I still finished 4th overall in the race. So the Mazda 787B wins in Tokyo by 7 seconds over the Nissan R390. The Toyota GT1 takes 3rd position. I was 4th, ahead of the Paynos Aspirante, who managed to undercut the GT40 successfully, I might add, in that race, to taking 5th position, as we now have a tie for 5th once again, and as I suspected, a 15-point interval, and I'm pretty sure that I will probably manage to win the final 2 races regardless of what happens, because these AI do not look like they will be able to beat me. So, another keychain. Usually don't mind getting those if I have a large enough lead to win the championship, so I would say for the final 2 races we are pretty much Gucci. And oh, yeah, we're going 15 laps around Monaco, so 10 laps for most of these races except for Monaco, where we're going 15 laps. And I also took the turbo off because I am certain this will probably be an easy win. And already making a statement because down the inside of Saint Devote, briefly taking the lead as we head through the first corner. Having to get a little bit aggressive there with the Mazda, and I am now manoeuvring my way up into the first position because these AI do not have any competence around the circuit from what I can establish. And already early on into this race I have already taken the lead. The R390 is already up into the 3rd position, trying to fight a course for 2nd place in the championship. The Mazda still proving to have the superior straight line speed up to this point. He tries to box me in, I throw the block, and I now currently see myself fighting first position, as of which the Mazda is not willing to give up the lead without a fight. We are literally bumping and running each other through pretty much every corner because that is how inconsistent these AI are around this circuit in comparison to me. I'm pretty sure that I will take the lead eventually. I had to get a little bit aggressive there with the Mazda so that I could secure my position for the lead. And already it appears as though the final finishing order for this race has already been decided. Here's what he thinks. Considering the Mazda notably has 2 wins in comparison the Nissan, who only has 1 win up to this point in the championship. And also braking hard, of course, for lows hairpin, because obviously it's basically the tightest hairpin of any other hairpin in the world, basically the tightest hairpin in the world, if you want my honest opinion. And surprisingly here at Monaco we are actually seeing some overtakes being made, but at the moment I am slowly but surely extending my lead over the Toyota because the AI appears to have lackluster competence around this circuit. Around this circuit in comparison to me. Ultimately, I can now say it will probably be from this point onwards that I will presumably dominate the rest of this race by the time everyone gets settled down. Even though at the moment, of course, the Toyota is not willing to give up without a fight. Apparently, at the moment, he looks like he's probably the only competent one of the entire bunch in terms of actually trying to stay with me, but again, my only real fight is with the Mazda. I only really need to finish in second or higher in order to officially, mathematically win the championship no matter what the Mazda does up to this point. And I am now 2¼ seconds clear of the Toyota, who once again hits the wall at the second of the two pool chicanes, as I now head through Le Massenet and Le Rascasse as I head down the front stretch once again. And I think it's fair to say that I am now 3 seconds clear of the Toyota. So it appears as though the AI's lackluster incompetence around this circuit is proving to get the better of them and ultimately allow me to extend my lead. And overall, I still don't consider myself a fan of Monaco, but obviously at the very least I can definitely say this wider version of Monaco definitely beats the real life version of Monaco, because that is exactly where the line is, and also how big the real Monaco circuit is. And also why exactly many of us gamers really do not like racing on the Monaco circuit in the F1 games. Because that's about the only thing many people really know Monaco for. They basically know it for the Grand Prix circuit, which is pretty much what this is. And I am now 4 seconds clear of the Toyota. So no matter what happens this race, I am more than confident enough to say that at the end of 15 laps I will definitely win this race. I'm going to suspect where the line is. That's basically how wide the circuit really is, and I'm also going to suspect, of course, that overall this alternative version of Monaco definitely beats the real life version, because you can actually squeeze through the corners. Compared to the real life course, which is basically just as tight as hell, basically. And also overtaking, unlike the real life course, is actually possible. It's still pretty difficult, but it's definitely possible. Because Monaco is a 15-lapper, I ultimately have no doubts in saying that this time I will definitely win this race. So, a 5-second lead now over the Toyota, I think it's pretty clear to say that the intervals up to this point in the race have pretty much been distanced as much as I thought they were going to be up to this point. And I think it's pretty clear to say up to this point I have almost no chance of losing this race by the time pit stops happen, because I know for sure I do not have to pit in for tyres, whereas they say I do, and I'm also pretty certain to say at the very least I am probably building up my lead by at least a second a lap. So pretty much uncontested up to this point in the race, as I figured I would be. I knew very well that regardless of what happened here at Monaco, I would probably end up clinching. I would probably end up clinching the championship anyway, because that is how much more superiority I have here in Monaco compared to his AI, as of which I can now say I am approaching the halfway point in this event. A little bit of oversteer through there, and obviously I'm not talking that much up to this point in the race, because I know for sure that I am definitely and undeniably going to win this race regardless of what happens next, because even if I do have a crash up to this point, I still think it will be possible for me to win this race regardless of what happens next, because ultimately I have more than a big enough cushion to prove that I will unquestionably win this race, and the Nissan has now taken over the second position and still continuing to get oversteer every so often with this car, but again it has not prevented me from losing this race, because I'm still pretty much way the fuck ahead of everyone else up to this point, or will be by the time by the time we get down to the final few laps. So, quick update on the race itself. Ultimately, one thing I have proven is that I am still continuing to dominate this race, regardless of what happens next. Because I am pretty much a pit stop clear of the Nissan R390, even though with this course having such a short pit lane by comparison to many other circuits in this game, I am more than confident enough to say that I will definitely win this race up to this point in the championship. So, continuing the unquestionable domination. Because of myself being that much more superior than the rest of the field up to this point. I might even overlap someone before this race is done, as of which the person I do end up overlapping will probably be muscle cars if it comes down to that, but even though I'm hoping it probably will come down to that situationally, I still think overall I am very much consensual enough to say I will manage to overlap at least one of these two back markers. And lap times are starting to drop off just a little bit. Even though the truth is my lap times have not been consistent, and nor should I worry about those lap times being consistent, because ultimately I have more than a large enough cushion to say that I will unquestionably win this race, even without pit stops taking place. Because the Toyota has now caught up to the top two in this race, and it looks as though those tyres will only last for probably a minimal amount of time. Now diving down the inside of the Peñas, who gives me a little bit of a nudge there in response, but again, it does not matter too much because I will still end up winning this race regardless of what happens next, because that is how dominant I have been throughout this race. Pretty much even more dominant in this race than both the Mazda and the Nissan were in Tokyo, and it looks as though since the Toyota has now taken second place back in this race, I would imagine, even though it probably won't happen, I would think that both the Nissan and the Mazda will probably need to pit before the end of this race. But ultimately, overall, even though I'm not providing too much speaking at the moment, obviously the main reason for that is because, well, I've just been dominating this race basically. And the GT40 attempts to box me in, but obviously I ain't having that shit, because I was holding on to the racing line. It really looks like he did not want to get overlapped, but unfortunately in the end he had to concede, because he knew I was going to keep my foot in the door. He knew I wasn't going to give up that position, and he now comes into the pits. So that, I believe, is going to hand 5th position back to the Paynos, as of which both of them are now overlapped. And for me, I can now say this will definitely be an easy win, regardless of how many mistakes I make up to this point. As of which I've been making a lot of mistakes during this race. I still think I will probably win this by a big ass margin, because that is how dominant I have been. I think by now it's probably taken me about less than 3 hours to get this entire championship in, but since I have managed to do both parts of this championship in one day, I would say that is probably what I'm going to come down to. Coming across the bus stop straight once again, and now beginning the 15th and final lap here at Monaco, as of which this is unquestionably the most boring race by some margin in terms of excitement, because I'm now officially way the fuck ahead of everyone else. And even though the Toyota has really put the hammer down... No, wait, no he hasn't. Hold on. Sorry, I'm getting confused. No, that's the Paynos that's up there by the hairpin. The GT40 is right behind it. Yeah, that's the Toyota. Yeah, sorry, I just had to refresh myself on what's actually been going on. So, I'm still continuing to dominate this race like I have been for pretty much the past 15 laps, and ultimately it does look as though the Toyota will finally manage to break through and finish second in this race as a result of him putting on the undercut. And meanwhile for me, pretty boring race overall, and officially I've won 6 out of 9 races, and we still have 1 race to go but officially I am now confirmed as the champion. Alright, there we go. Everyone has now finished. And in the end of that, I won by a dominant 43 seconds over the Toyota. And my car is going very slowly for some reason now. So the R390 takes 3rd position, the 787B was 4th, the Paynos Esperante, as a result of his undercut, takes 5th, and then at the back was the GT40. And so I now have a 22-point lead over the 787B once again. The Nissan R390 is slowly catching up to the Mazda, but I don't think he's going to get him in the end. I don't think. And yep, I do have a replay saved, and also, just in case if anything should happen up to this point, I am going to save the game just in case, so that I don't lose my progress. Alright, so here we are now for what is ultimately take 2 of recording the final race in the Professional GT World Championship, because ultimately my USB filled up before I could officially get the rest of the footage in for this final race. I thought for sure I did have enough space to fit it in, but unfortunately I did not. I had to remove some of the video files, and now I'm confident enough to say that I do have enough space to get this entire race in to concluding the Professional GT World Championship, because my USB filled up to the maximum number of megabytes it could consume. And so officially, what I can say up to this point is that, as you probably already know, I've clinched the championship already. I have a 22-point lead over the Mazda 787B heading into this final round, and I'm pretty certain I do not need to change anything, since this is the final race of the championship, and yeah, let's get to it. So this is officially take 2 of the final race in the Professional GT World Championship as a result of my USB literally being stopped for the amount of space it had in recording this, and I'm hopeful in saying that by the time I have completed this championship, I will eventually manage to find myself enough space to eventually getting myself a new capture card. Well, not necessarily new, but I mean a replacement capture card over the one I'm currently using. And hopefully one where I do not have to worry about using a USB stick just to get the video footage I want. And there's quite a tussle going on for the lead at the moment, as of which the Nissan R390 does now take the lead here at Gran reverse. I'm confident that I do now have enough space on my USB to officially re-record this, as of which I've already clinched the championship over the Mazda. Had to short shift a little there so that I didn't ram into the back of the Nissan, and it is also nice to see that we are ending this championship under a sunset, because that's basically what this race is. And I'm currently behind the Toyota at the moment, but that's more or less what I would anticipate to happen. I'm pretty confident enough to say that I will eventually manage to take the lead once the pit stops start to settle in, and because of how much quicker I am through these corners in comparison to these I am more than certain to say that by the time the tyre degradation does start to come into effect, that is officially when I will manage to pounce on these issues and hopefully take control of the lead in this race. So the Toyota currently leads here at Grand Valley, but he will inevitably pit like he has done for every other race so far, as of which last time out in Monaco he did manage to take home second place, as you probably saw from the result of making the pit stop. The Mazda 787B is fighting hard for second position in this race with the Nissan, so there is still quite a tussle going on between those two, but I'm pretty sure the Mazda by now is probably secure for second place in the standings no matter what happens up to this point. The Nissan will definitely finish in third. The Nissan will definitely finish in third in the championship, as he is well clear of the Toyota. And as for myself, well, you probably remember that last time out I mathematically clinched the championship as a result of me just basically having a dominant performance in Monaco, which is more or less what I thought was going to clinch me the championship. And lo and behold, I officially did manage to successfully clinch the championship without any real issues all race long. My very much calm and punting demeanour has not failed me, as of which I'm trying not to say calculated demeanour, because obviously I wouldn't consider myself to be that, and fortunately for me at least, I am pretty sure up to this point in the race, sooner or later, I will definitely manage to inevitably take the lead. So there really is no point in pushing the shifts at the moment, because I already have enough of a points margin up to this point to win the championship no matter what happens. Considering on aggregate I already clinched the championship, and the Mazda definitely gave me a nudge there as we came through turn 1. It almost looked as though he was going to punt me out of the way, and I do manage to get my shot at revenge. I did not manage to concede the position, even though the Mazda was going to get past me on the inside anyway. I was boxed on the outside. I couldn't have done anything to prevent that from happening. But it's fine, because I'm pretty certain I will manage to retake first position from the Mazda, as of which I figured I would give him a little payback there. I now maneuver myself up into the first position after nearly 4 laps of trying. And it was basically 4 laps of trying, not really 4 laps of frustration, because I more or less knew that I was going to the lead once everything had started to settle down with the Toyota. He's basically been pulled back down to earth up to this point, and I would imagine on the next lap, as a result of those deflating tyres, he probably will evidently fall back to the 4th position once he has made his pit stop, and then once the pit stop has taken place, he will officially fall back to what will presumably be the 4th position in this race, since I have now cleared myself from the rest of the field. So 4 laps are now complete. We're now coming up to the midway point of lap 5, as of which I did also figure I would put my controller on charge just in case, and I am now 4 seconds clear of the Mazda, who does now take 2nd position away from the Toyota. Although it is too bad for the Mazda, at least it is too little too late to do anything for the championship, because at the very least, coming out of this race, I will be 11 points clear. Of the Mazda, regardless of what happens next. The championship is inevitably going to be mine regardless of what happens, even though the Mazda is trying to relentlessly catch up to me, but unfortunately he does not have the advantage on the reverse course that he had on the normal course, which was the first race. Unfortunately, I'd already clinched the championship coming into this race, so that was already locked up. And all I really have to do now is just focus on going the rest of the distance without having any major issues. So, coming up to the end of lap 6 here at Gran Valley, I now lead this race by 7.5 seconds. The Mazda is now pretty much well clear of the Nissan up to this point for 3rd position, so it appears as though that position has already been decided, as I now set a mid 147 as now being my new best lap time. And I think it's pretty much suffice to say up to this point that I probably will win this race regardless what happens now, because the interval will undoubtedly increase. I have judged the situation dispassionately, and I have also managed to persevere by using the unity of tyre longevity along with my FTO. All reasons that notably add up to why exactly I will probably end up winning this race regardless of what happens. Yep, I am pretty sure this will probably end up being an easy win, unless I make a major mistake, which I don't plan on doing up to this point, as I now head down the front stretch and also set a new PB in the process, a new personal best. As we now head down into turn 1 once again, I also make a little bit of contact there with the outside concrete wall, as which I'm pretty sure that is a concrete wall I see there. And I'm now giving my car a push through the tunnel from that concrete wall in the first tunnel. But fortunately, I'm already across the bridge. I'm pretty sure this will unquestionably be an easy win. And the GT40 now comes into the pits after 7 laps. Pretty sure the Paynos Esperante will not catch him, as of which the Esperante was pretty much a point clear of the GT40 going into this race, so he might be able to hold on to 5th position if this race becomes a tiebreaker, even though that seems like an unlikelihood, although tiebreakers have become more of a recent trend in my version of Gran Turismo 3, because apparently that is something that has managed to happen before, and I'm pretty sure in saying it could probably happen again with the bottom 2, but dependent on knowing who is decided the winner of that battle by default, will just have to wait and see what happens. And furthermore, yes, I did decide to deliberately miss my braking point before the chicane. Although it probably doesn't matter too much to go for a PB, because I already have the quickest lap time of anyone else around this circuit anyway, proving why exactly my car is much quicker around this course than anyone else's, basically. So 16.4 seconds is now the interval. I am trying to see if I can improve on my best lap time, maybe go for a high 146 if I can get a reasonable enough exit out of the final hairpin. I think that looked reasonable enough. We shall just have to wait and see what happens, even though it was worth a shot to go for the fastest lap, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen this time, unfortunately. Anyways, final lap, and I think it's fair to say the other positions for the championship have already been decided. And, oh, I am off on the grass, and I completely missed the braking point again for the second time. Really trying my hardest not to make it look like I'm cheating, but again, coming to overlap someone. It looks like the Esperante is the car that I will overlap in this race. So, the Paynos Esperante will officially be the car that I overlap in this race, and I do not have to wait for him to finish. As of which, I now have a pretty sizable lead over the Mazda 787B, so it looks as though for this championship I am going to win once again 7 out of 10 races for the second time consecutively, as a result of me pretty much going for a minimum downforce setup at test course. But officially, there we go! And I narrowly miss out on setting a new best lap time. Oh well, I still win the race and that's all that matters. And let's now wait for everybody else to finish, which shouldn't be too long. There he is, and I nearly overlapped the GT40 as well, by the way. So officially, I basically dominated that race once I took the lead, because I won by 27 seconds over the Mazda 787B, who apparent as it might be in the end was eventually uncontested for second position, and so in the end of that, I win by 26 points over the Mazda 787B. The Nissan R390 takes third position by 7 points, 20 clear of the Toyota GT1, and in a tiebreaker for fifth position, the GT40 has beaten the Esperante to fifth position, even though it was a tiebreaker in the end. And do I have a replay saved? Yes, I do. And yeah. Like I said before, the additional virtual memory card is there for me to save any additional replays in case if this one runs out of space. But anyways, it's now time for the victory celebrations, since I won this by nearly 3 races, and 250,000 credits for winning this. Pretty much the same amount of money I got from the All Japan GT Championship. And what car do we win from this? We win... oh, okay. We win the Vauxhall Caribra from this championship. Oh, a rather interesting choice if you ask me, but whatever, I'll take it. But there we go. So, in the end of that, just to summarise how the championship went, I won 7 out of 10 races, including 5 wins in a row from the second race up to the 6th race, and then following that, the rest of it is basically history. So there we go. 7 out of 10 races won, pretty impressive in my honest opinion, and officially, that's now every international A license event cleared except for the endurance events, which I will be getting on with after I am done with the rally events. And oh, my win ratio went down again. Boo. Well, I can always get that back again with the rally events, but anyways, we are now pretty much 80% complete with the game now, and I have a total of over 250 wins to my name. Had a feeling the win ratio would go down eventually, and this is the car we win. A Vauxhall Caribra touring car, or Calibra, but I'm pretty sure it says Caribra up there, so I don't fucking know what the model is called. I'm sorry, I really don't know. But yeah, it says up there Calibra, but it says on the title screen Caribra. So, I don't fucking know which one is which, but anyways, this is our prize car from the GT World Championship. And well, it's basically just a car I can look at. But anyways, that was the Professional GT World Championship, and next time we shall be getting started with the rally events. And so with that, stay tuned for more of Gran Turismo 3.